based on the first couple of award shows we've seen? Any trends or obvious winners or losers?
Well, yep, I think a pattern is definitely emerging. I'm basing what I say on the results of the Critics' Choice Awards, which took place last Thursday. That's the Broadcast Film Critics Association, of which I'm a member. I should be out there, you know, glad-handing with Brad and George, but I've got family commitments that keep me here, so I watch with extreme jealousy every year, particularly this year when George Harrison's wife was there and Bob Dylan was there. I mean, they get a better and better turnout every year. It really was the same crowd as the Golden Globes, or better, you know, which wasn't the case a few years ago. So I'm basing what I say on the results of the Critics' Choice Awards and the Globes, which of course took place this past Sunday. And you know, you've got certain locks at this point, it seems. George Clooney, Best Actor. I mean, if I had a lot of money to bet on this, I'd put my money on George, and I wouldn't even watch the show. I think it's that definite. Best Supporting Actor, Christopher Plummer. You know, for beginners, he's won right across the board. I think that's just gonna keep going, and I, you know, so happy to see that for him, because he's such a wonderful actor, and he just really, you know, he's getting up there in years, and you know, it's nice to see him have a triumph like this, and it's a beautiful little movie. If you haven't seen it, you know, you ought to check it out. Best Actress, you know, it's up in the air. You would think Meryl Streep, but the Globes went with Meryl Streep. Critics' Choice went with Viola Davis from The Help. The Help has turned out to be like a kind of a spoiler in the whole affair this year. Nobody thought when that came out this past summer that was going to be a major awards player, but it's turned out to be, because both organizations voted Octavia Spencer Best Supporting Actress, and she's from The Help. So you got two from the Help, heavy hitters here. Woody Allen would appear to be a sure thing for Best Original Screenplay. He's won both, and aside from that, it would appear that there is kind of like a contest going on between The Artist, the French black and white silence film, which is the critic's darling this year, and The Descendants, which came out a while back, and of course starred George Clooney, was directed by Alexander Payne, who gave us Sideways. Organization by organization, there just isn't a clear consensus. You know, it's kind of going back and forth. And the thing is, when it comes to the Critics' Choice Awards and when it comes to the Globe, they have both a Best Picture Drama and a Best Comedy category. So if they can't make up their minds, they can kind of hedge their bets, you know, and say, okay, we'll give The Artist Best Picture, but we'll give, in the case of the Globes, The Artist Best Comedy, and give Descendants Best Picture because it's, you know, the Best Picture Drama. When we get to the Oscars, they're not going to be able to play that game, you know? They're going to have to make a decision, and it's either going to be The Artist or The Descendants, you know, I think, unless, what's going to come out of left field, you know, at this point. Not War Horse, not The Ides of March, not Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, or Bridesmaids, or as much as I would have loved to have seen Bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids really got snubbed, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, everybody kind of thought, and I really hoped, that either for writing Kristen Wiig or for, you know, supporting actress Melissa McCarthy, somewhere along the way there, you know, it was really going to be a factor. I mean, it is the best comedy of the year. I mean, that ought to be reflected somewhere. There's nothing like it. But you know, it did get Best Comedy at the Critics' Choice Awards, but I just would have thought Melissa McCarthy especially would have been winning a lot more of these Best Supporting things, and they're going to the Help, you know, they're going to other places. You know, so I think it's going to come down, Best Picture-wise, which is the one everybody cares about, to The Descendants or The Artist. And if I had to make a bet, I bet would be talking about The Artist, you know, after all is said and done, because it, you know, in my opinion, it wasn't the most outstanding film of last year, but you have to admit it did stand out, you know, from the rest of the movie pack. You know, silent, black and white, from France. Most of the stars nobody in America has ever seen before, and yet it is like an extremely winning, extremely charming movie. You definitely walk out, you know, feeling great, and it has really a lot of nice little, beautiful little touches in it. The Descendants, I'm not sure why it's.
You didn't love that movie.
I didn't love it, you know, and I love George. And I didn't think that was the greatest thing he'd ever done. And I love Alexander Payne. I think Sideways is a masterpiece, and I didn't think this was anything close to a masterpiece, anything close to Sideways. I just don't understand where all the love for this movie comes from, but you know, it has it, so you know, good for everybody there.
The big losers so far.
Well, you know, I've mentioned Warhorse. I mean, I think everybody thought Steven Spielberg, Warhorse. You know, I mean, we've got War, Saving Private Ryan, and everything. I mean, you know, he's done really well with War. I mean, he's made really, you know, classic movies, The Schindler's List, and you know, Saving Private Ryan is a classic movie. So you know, we went back a little bit in time, and I think he got a little maybe carried away with the art design and that kind of thing. It really looks like a movie that was made a long time ago, and it just doesn't have the same sensibility as his World War II movies. So I don't know. The audience just didn't really turn out for that the way I think a lot of people expected. Hugo, you know, Martin Scorsese, you know, that's got nominated for some technical, you know, art direction, special effects, that kind of thing, but you know, it didn't really get the best picture. Love the Tree of Life, you know. I mean, that was a movie that made just about everybody's 10 best list, but you know, it's not winning any best pictures. And you know, J. Edgar, of course, The Ides of March. There are a lot of them that people early on thought were going to be a factor. And haven't turned out to be. The one that really surprises me and really disappoints me is Moneyball. You know, I mean, admittedly, it's not like about a world-changing subject. It's not about a world war, but I mean, it is a great screenplay, great acting, a great story. I don't know why Brad Pitt isn't like splitting the votes with George Clooney. You know, it's sort of weird to see him go show by show by show, and it's always George going over to give Brad a pat on the back or borrow his cane in the case of the Globes, you know, so he doesn't get hit with it, I think. You know, I mean, that was an amazing performance by Brad Pitt. He just doesn't get the credit he deserves. I don't know why. And he played a large role in the producing of the movie, getting the movie stalled out in production 2 or 3 times, and he kept getting it started up again. And I just think it's this year's Social Network. It's, you know, it's the thinking person's movie, and it's completely entertaining at the same time. So, I mean, I think that's the one that's really been left out this year.
Could there be a spoiler out there that could sneak in and beat both The Descendants and The Artist? Could it be The Iron Lady or another movie that could end up surprising?
I think it's kind of doubtful at this point, because I think the consensus is that, for instance, The Iron Lady had a great central performance. I mean, a magnificent central performance, but the movie itself, you know, wasn't in the same league. Same thing with J. Edgar. You know, Leonardo. You've seen Leonardo at all these award shows. They've got to nominate him. I mean, that was a fabulous performance, but the movie itself, I mean, and the makeup in particular in that movie. I thought I was back in the 70s watching some kind of science fiction thing, you know, before all the CGI stuff came along, and okay, how much rubber and mush can you put on somebody's face? I didn't think that was all that impressively done at all. And of course, you've got it came out right at the last minute, just barely in time to be among the nominees. The film Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, which focuses on a young boy's having lost his father in 9/11. Based on an award-winning novel, which is a wonderful, wonderful novel, very complicated novel, and you know, in taking out what you had to dig out to be able to turn it into a movie.
Tom Hanks plays the father.
Yeah, really, he does a really nice job. But the movie itself, you know, there's been a lot of controversy. A lot of people just don't feel a movie should have been made about 9/11. A lot of people just feel like it's a little too, you know, heart-tugging and borderline cheesy. I don't know about the borderline cheesy part. I mean, I did enjoy it, but it's not up there with the artist and with Moneyball and with all of those. But you never know. You never know. It'll have been out for a longer period of time. More people will have had a chance to have seen it among the Academy voters, and you know, they'll know. There's always a chance that there'll be a surprise for that very reason. I mean, when we voted for the Critics' Choice, you know, awards, that was way back when this movie had just barely come out. Some other movies weren't, you know, we had seen them on screeners, but the public hadn't really seen them, and they just didn't have a chance to build the buzz yet. So, you know, anything could happen. But I think the ones we talked about that have been winning, you know, award show after award show, critics group after critics group, you know, I think they're pretty much what we're going to be looking at.